Evening, everyone. Chris Schultz, FridayNightVictors.com. We are doing our weekly video. I guess it's our wrap up from the week before, and then making our picks for week 5. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm
week
here
5
with
already.
I'm here with Frank Vajner and Gary Hoff. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight, Frank?
Oh, busy week for me, given the fact that I've got at least middle school football to officiate this week and possibly another game Friday night. Still waiting word on that, so we'll see how it goes. And it's also Prime Day today and tomorrow at Amazon, so I've had a lot of work relating to that.
Okay, Gary, how about you? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's rivalry week, right?
Yeah. Oh, in the Huron League it is, and
in the Huron League.
And the SEC Red as well. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, heck, let's dive right into things, and let's go over some games from last week. Just some scores. Milan 24, Huron 7. Frank, thoughts on this game?
Well, from pretty much every indication I got, Huron kind of seemed lost without Austin Myers, and I guess give credit to Milan and Jesse Hoskins for getting his team to rise up to the occasion and knock the apple cart over in the Huron League a little bit.
Gary?
Yeah, Milan finds himself back into things. I don't want to say we wrote them off when they lost to earlier, but yeah, Milan's a good team, and Huron probably didn't play very well. And when you don't do that against Milan, this is what happens.
Yeah, and I know, people always want to say, "Oh, Hoskin out coach this guy" or whatever. Jesse does that all the time, right? This is nothing new. Jesse Hoskins is a great coach, right? Probably one of the best of the teams we cover. Would we agree with that, guys?
Absolutely, yeah. I would agree with that.
It was 12-7 at the end of 3, so it was very, very tight, and Milan kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter.
Okay, another score. Saline 56, Bedford 14. Gary.
Yeah, I think Saline's just really good. There's nothing more to really say about that. Saline's a darn good football team. Definitely got a chance to win a regional.
Frank?
Good football team is an understatement for Saline. They are not even in the same galaxy as Bedford and Monroe are, for that matter. I think this is a dark horse in Division I.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this may be Joe Palka's best team, and I think I wrote that on the blog earlier this week. So let's see. Let's touch a couple more. Harper Woods 57, Carlson 33. Harper Woods had come on at 0-3, and Carlson was 3-0. Frank, I don't find this very surprising. I think Harper Woods is a very good team, and they played a tough schedule. Thoughts on this?
Well, I think we just saw the real Harper Woods. I mean, I know you said they were 0-3, but yeah, they played a murderer's row of 3 games, and then they play a Carlson team who is still solid, just not as good as those teams they face. So I think Galfleisch and company will bounce back. They just had to take their lumps in this one.
Gary?
Yeah, it's hard to tell how good Harper Woods is or was because the schedule they play is so difficult. Just about everybody will lose to those teams, so it was tough to gauge how good they were. Apparently, they're really good, and they might be a team to reckon with in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, last game. Gary, this was a game where you were on the color call. SMCC 47, Grosse-Ile 40. I listened to a little bit on the radio, and SMCC had opened up, I think it was maybe a 40-20 lead at one point, or 47-20. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it was the first 8 possessions were touchdowns. It's just Central recovered an onside kick to open it, and then they got the ball first coming out. So they had 5 possessions to Grosse-Ile's 3, and so they opened up a 2-touchdown lead, and they stretched it out to 47-20. But in the last 5-6 minutes of the game, it was pretty hectic if you're an SMCC fan, because Grosse-Ile came storming back. Nice receivers, a good quarterback, and Brown threw for 300 yards. And SMCC ended up rolling for 580 yards total offense. I think that's rushing on the ground. I think that's that's a school record for rushing in a game. And Cole Jandro had a couple hundred yards. So very nice win on the island for SMCC. Gets them back into the thick of things, certainly in the seeding for the district playoffs.
Right?
Well, I think this is the one that we all missed on, thinking Grosse Ile was going to win, and then SMCC pulls out a vintage win with 580 yards rushing. Cole Jandro with 227 of those. He has his breakout game, the first of many, I might add. And so definitely a much-needed win for Adam Kipf and company, especially since he's got a pretty young team this year. And let's just say I've seen him with a young team in the past, and they have surprised some people.
Okay, yeah, I don't think there's anything I can add. So, all right, that's kind of the wrap up from games. But we did have our Player of the Week nominations. We had that Cole Jandro from SMCC, Jacob Lewis from Ida, Devin Shaw from Whiteford, and then we had the entire offensive line from the Riverview Pirates. And there were nearly 500 votes for the Player of the Week, and 44% of the vote went to the Riverview offensive line, which was Avery Thomas, Patrick Fioretti, Justin Shank, Drake Begeman, Gabe Landskroner, and then tight ends Layman Kincaid and Cal Lockhart. Congratulations to the offensive line from Riverview. So, guys, last week we did some questions that I threw out at you guys, and I wanted to do that again, and I'm hoping I have access to this a little bit easier this week. Instead of just reading them off my phone, I kind of have them prepared. So I've got some good ones for you, and we'll see where we go. Remember, we're on a time schedule. So, Gary, first one's for you. Schedule.
Yeah.
Gary, the playoffs are quickly approaching. Which division seems to have the most depth from top to bottom and will be the toughest to win?
I kind of think Division One. I can, you can go from number one team. A lot of people have Belleville, Davidson, all the way down to maybe a 10th ranked team to Saline, or 9th, wherever they're at in that area. They can win the whole thing. So I think there's legitimately 10 teams in Division One that can win it. And I would say that's the deepest.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the sexy pick would be Belleville, but Belleville's been picked number one a lot of years in a row, and they haven't won anything. Right. I think there's 2 or 3 other teams I would pick before them personally. Okay, right. Frank, you've been officiating some football games this year, and I know it's not new, but I think it's your first time you've done varsity. The MHSAA continues to say there's a shortage of officials, and there are. With your experience, would you encourage the average sports fan to get into football officiating?
I absolutely would encourage them to get into it, because when you officiate a game, you kind of get a culture shock as to how different you see it than when you watch from the stands or on TV, or in my cases, sometimes from the press box, because I have had that media perspective, I've had that fan perspective, and now the point of view from officiating is definitely an eye-opener. And I learned that when I got into it. And of course, you don't expect to get a varsity game your first time you ever do a game. You gotta work your way up there, or do some lower level contests and get with an experienced official who can mentor you. I've done that, and I've worked with some great officials in the past. And I've even gotten to work with some of the newer ones as well at lower levels before, and even still, it's a rewarding experience. I mean, look, you got to have a thick skin to do it, because you're going to get yelled at by fans and parents and players and coaches.
People yell?
Oh yeah, they do, and they will say a lot of stuff that I cannot repeat here.
Wow,
you got to remember, Frank. Although they're yelling, the other half loves you. So, it's always just listen to them, right?
Sounds like an election.
Right.
So
yeah, very well could, especially if you do something or call something that they don't like. But of course, if you made the right call, then you made the right call.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
The case on Friday night, too. I had somebody who wasn't happy with the call I made, and let's just say they earned some serious consequences as a result.
Uh-oh, a little laundry on the field. So, okay. So with that said, the MHSAA is looking for people. They're looking for people in every sport. So if you played or you didn't play and you just want to get involved, reach out to MHSAA.com. I think you'll find it's a really rewarding experience, a great way to give back to the kids and the community, and you get paid a little bit too. It's nothing great, but it is a little something for the effort. So keep that in mind. Gary, we talked about this today. There's been a lot of forfeits lately due to COVID-19, and while nobody wants to penalize a school for canceling because of COVID, it seems like some schools are taking advantage of the situation and canceling for other reasons while getting credit for a quality loss, even though they haven't played the game. Any thoughts on this?
Well, this is the question I was gonna ask you, so I want you to add on to it. Although I know we mirror each other, but we talked about this quite a bit. Yeah, it came up because of Jackson Lumen Christie. We'll call it what it is. Jackson Lumen Christie forfeited the game, and it's their right to forfeit for whatever reason they want. It was just some disciplinary stuff and some injuries tacked onto that. So perfectly fine. Forfeit the game. That's a-okay. But however, I don't believe you should get. I talked to a guy in the MHSAA today. We emailed back and forth, and he said that they treat a forfeit the same as a loss. And I disagree with doing that because they're not the same thing. One, you don't play. So you don't get bonus points just for who's on your schedule. You should actually have to play that team. Take the L, take your lump, right? And but they didn't do that. But I just think that's a flaw in the system, and you should not get bonus points for a forfeit. And maybe this year for COVID, I guess it's okay that you can do that. But if it's non-COVID, I definitely do not believe you should get bonus points if you forfeit, period.
Yeah, and I'll say I think it's just a weird year, but I think it is a flaw in the system, and I think you will see it adjusted. I don't know any of the circumstances behind them canceling the game. It doesn't sound like it was COVID related. I do know that there are rules in place. If you have a signed contract, you are expected to play that game, or there are consequences coming from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, which have to do with tournament play. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm sure it's something they're probably going to fix along the way, probably as soon as next year. So, all right, Frank, Erie Mason is having a great season and has arguably their biggest game since the 2003 Division V semifinal against Jackson Lumen Christie when they traveled to Sand Creek on Friday. Are the Eagles a product of their schedule this year, or are they legit?
I think you can probably say it's a product of both. I mean, I admit the Tri-County Conference is nowhere near as rugged as the LCAA, but let's be honest here. This Erie Mason team know Boudry by now, unless you've been living under a rock. I mean, I've known about him since he was in 8th grade. Plus, he's got guys around him. Tanner Herrera, Bryce Deal, Zach Brown, who transferred in from Whitmer High School out of Toledo. Ty Mandel. And there's others as well. Plus, he's got good offensive line in front of him. And defensively, this, I think, has really been the biggest key to their success, aside from Boudry himself. Defensively, they're giving up, I believe it's 13 points a game, which is their lowest since, I believe it was that semifinal run. And really, and I've said time and time again, the secret to the sauce has been the play of Cooper Kinsey, their nose guard, who has just been a nightmare for offensive linemen to block. So I think this is definitely going to be the first real test for them going against the number one team in Division VIII. But it's gonna be one you get your popcorn for, and I won't say who I'm picking to win that one yet. That'll be later.
Yeah, and I think that's a good answer. And I will say this, I think Erie Mason's for real. And they have some really, really good players. And I know they're a team that nobody's going to want to play in the playoffs when the time comes. So, all right, Gary, we got 2 more questions, guys, and we got to move on to our picks.
We got to hurry.
District 23 in Division 3 includes Friday Night Victors teams Riverview, Carlson, and New Boston Huron. The defending Division 3 state champion River Rouge Panthers are in that district. Do any of our teams have a chance to knock them off?
Wow. Like that, huh? If you're on the field, you have a chance, okay? And I think they have a little bit better chance than just that, okay? If Huron can get Myers back, you never know. If Riverview can, hold River Rouge to 2 possessions a half because they're just, 4 yards in a cloud of dust the whole way down the field, which we know the T can do. I've seen it personally many, many times. They have a chance, and they won't be the favorite, but it's why they play the game. So if I'm a Riverview fan, if I'm a Huron fan, and Dad, I'm Carlson, I'm like, let's go, let's play, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I think another team in that district, Allen Park, would possibly have a shot as well. So I think it would have to be it almost, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I remember when nobody thought that Riverview could beat Divine Child that one year. And
I did.
Well, yeah, I guess you did. Even though, okay, the comments.
Yeah,
that's right. So, all right, we'll leave it at that. So, last question before we move on to our picks, because we're trying to move along here. Frank, other than the Sand Creek and Erie Mason game this week, what other FNV game stands out to you?
Well, there's actually a few of them. The first one is going to be the battle for the Golden Cleat between Monroe and Bedford. I mean, both teams recently got
the Golden Cleat.
Yes, that is the actual rivalry trophy.
Wow.
I know this for a fact.
Okay.
And I mean that's truly a rivalry where you do throw the records out the window. I mean, obviously I'll get to my pick later. That one's interesting because it's going to determine who's going to finish second in the SEC Red, and it's basically the end of conference play for those teams. Because Bedford will play Woodhaven next week, Monroe will play Chelsea. And also, I've got my eye on the Colvin Cup game between Riverview and Grosse-Ile. Though I'm sure, Chris, you mentioned the trends in that series, how View wins in odd-numbered years, Grosse-Ile wins in even-numbered years, and the series is fairly even there. And one more game I do kind of have my eye on, even though on paper it looks like it could possibly be a blowout. It's Blissfield and Ida. Blissfield is rolling through the LCAA right now, unbeaten, but they had a close one against Hudson, and Ida has been their kryptonite in the past, as they have not beaten the Blue Streaks since 2012. So I think this is really the last big test for Blissfield if they want to stay atop the LCAA, and I'm sure and there's a lot of people saying that Ida could be a live dog in this one.
Okay, great job, guys. Great answers. And I think we're going to try and continue that segment as long as I can come up with something creative to ask you guys, because your answers are always great. So real quick, before we jump into our picks, I want to make sure we give a shout out to our sponsors, RKD Lawn and Landscape, Jeff Trzynski, Cakes by Stephanie in Monroe. We got Varsity Athletic, screen printing and embroidery in Monroe as well. So, gentlemen, we got to fly through this. We have to fly through this. Questions. I'm going to throw these out there. Make your picks. Couple of thoughts, and let's move from there. So let's go to right away that game you mentioned, Ida 2-2 at Blissfield. Frank.
Look, I know I said Blissfield has not beaten Ida since 2012, but I think that Ida is going to run into a buzzsaw in this one. I'm taking Blissfield. Blissfield's just on another planet.
Okay, Gary, you still with us, or did we lose you? Looks like Gary might have froze, so we're gonna move on, and I'll make my pick. I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna take Blissfield here as well. They are 4-0. I don't think I mentioned that, so I'm going to go with them as well. Gary may need to log out and check back in. This is what happens when we're on Zoom, people, so it is what it is. So, all right, let's go to Dundee, 1-3, and Hillsdale, 3-1. Frank, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Dundee actually played Clinton pretty close, although Clinton was without a couple of guys. And going into Hillsdale's never easy. I know Hillsdale's pass defense has struggled, and Dundee likes to throw it around a little bit. But I'm going Hillsdale in this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Hillsdale as well. Okay, let's slide into 3-1 Monroe at 3-1 Bedford. Frank, your thoughts on this game?
Whew, this is one I've said where you throw the records out the window because anything can happen. And truly, I think anything could happen this year. And I may be on staff for basketball at Bedford, so I should lead a certain way in this, but I'm going to pick with my head, and I think Monroe's just got way too much offensively and defensively, so give me the Trojans in a squeaker.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Trojans as well. I think Monroe's probably just a little bit better, but it is a game to where you can probably throw out the records, so I'll go with Monroe as well. All right, 3-1 Carlson is traveling to 1-3 Lincoln Park. Frank, your thoughts on this? Hey, he's back.
South Monroe.
That was crazy. So we'll get back to your games that you missed in a minute, but we're on 3-1 Carlson at 1-3 Lincoln Park. Frank, go ahead.
Lincoln Park has been pretty bad for a long time, and I think this is not a good week to play Carlson. They're going to be ticked off after losing to Harper Woods. This one could get ugly. Give me the Marauders.
Gary?
Marauders over the Rail Splitters.
Okay, I'll take Carlson as well. Let's go. This is a big game in the Catholic League. Bishop Foley, 4-0, is traveling to Riverview Gable Richard, who is 4-0. The winner of this game will most likely play Everest Collegiate in the Catholic League Championship. Gary, your pick.
I'm gonna go with the Pioneers of Riverview. It's just gonna be a great game, I believe. And yeah, the winner gets Everest. They're a top 5 team in Division 8, in my opinion. So good game, great games coming up here for Richard.
Frank?
Riverview Gabriel Richard is the home team, so I'm gonna pick them. Going with the Pioneers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with GR as well. All right, let's go to Summerfield, 1-3, traveling to Morenci, who is 1-3. Gary.
Bulldogs. I pick them every week, but I think they've only come through for me one time. I'm gonna stick with Summerfield in this. I think they can beat Morenci in that running game.
Frank?
Well, I saw Morenci last week. They are without their starting quarterback, Braylon Stover. He's out with an injury, so they've had one of the Mansfield boys. I can't remember if it's Landon or Evan or whatever his name was. He played last week. Didn't do too badly when I saw him, but I think I'm going with Summerfield in this one. And fun fact, this is Bulldogs versus Bulldogs, so the winner's going to be the Bulldogs either way.
Oh, okay. So I'll go with Summerfield then. I'll just throw that out there. I have nothing to add. Let's see. I think I missed a game in here. Frank, Whiteford, 2-2 at Britton Deerfield, 1-3.
I'll go Whiteford in this one. Just my gut feeling. I know last year was kind of a wild one, but I think Whiteford just squeaks one out.
Gary? I think Gary froze again. Uh-oh. He's having technical difficulties, people. So I'm going to go with Whiteford as well. Gary has disappeared again. And, he lives down there in southern Monroe. So the internet can be a little sketchy down there. So let's move on to the next game. We will go – this is a big game. Lansing Catholic Central, 3-1 at Mason, 4-0. Frank.
Ooh. And I've had Lansing Catholic in my top 10 at times. I think they're just kind of on the outside looking in right now. But I think Mason could be something special there in the much tougher Division III. So I'm going to go with Mason in this one.
All right, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go with Lansing Catholic Central to pull off the minor upset in this game. All right, another big game up there in the middle of the state, up near the Lansing area, is we are looking at 4-0 Williamston at 4-0 Olivet.
Ooh, I believe Williamston is in Division 4. Olivet's D5. I'm going to go with Williamston in this one.
Gary, we got 4-0 Williamston at 4-0 Olivet.
I like Williamston too.
Okay, I'm going to go with Olivet. Gary, you missed the pick on Lansing Catholic Central 3-1 at Mason 4-0.
Big game. This is almost a coin flip for me. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs in Mason.
A lot of Bulldogs out there.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's go to the Huron League. 0-4 Flat Rock. My Mighty Rams at Huron 3-1. Gary, your thoughts?
I want to pick Flat Rock, but there's just no way I can. I'm going to give it to Huron.
Frank?
I'm going with those Chiefs as we see Gary's dog now on screen.
He's saying hi.
Hey, dog. All right, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs as well. I would just hand the ball off to Tyson Stevens every time, not worry about throwing the ball. Have Chase Molinar carry it every third time and just play defense and go from there. So,
yeah.
All right, 0-4 Jefferson travels to 2-2 SMCC. Frank?
Well, there's a reason I refer to them as my adopted, gutty, gritty, resilient Falcons. They showed it last week with a win over Grosse Ile. They're going to keep it going. I'll take the Falcons.
Gary?
I'm telling you right now, these Bears are waiting, lying in the weeds. Central comes off a huge win, and it was to get the season in the right path at Grosse Ile was an enormous win. Central's riding high. Jefferson hasn't won a game all year. Boy, this is the kind of game that Jefferson just loves to win. They're going to come ready to go. However, I'm going to pick my Falcons. But, man, I don't know. Jefferson has kept us out of the playoffs 2 years out of the last 8 or 9 or so in games like this.
Okay, you sound like Lou Holtz talking.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with SMCC.
They almost beat Milan. They almost beat Milan at Airport. They can play. They can play.
I didn't say they can. I'm just picking SMCC. Okay. All right, so we got a few minutes left here. We got to get these picks in. Let's go, Gary. Airport 2-2 at Milan 3-1.
Going to go with Milan after the big victory. Although this one, Milan's going to have to play really well.
Frank?
Rematch of a playoff matchup last year that Milan prevailed in a squeaker. I'll take the Big Reds again in a close one.
Okay, next we've got Riverview 4-0 at Grosse Ile 2-2. Frank?
Well, this is a rivalry game, Colvin Cup, and of course, Chris, I know you said how in the even-numbered years, Grosse Ile wins, odd-numbered years, Riverview wins. That's not going to be the case this year. After Grosse Ile gave up 580 yards to a team that runs the T, they're going to face another team that runs the T even better. I'm going with the Pirates.
Gary?
Although Coach Bodner, I'm sure, has the Red Devils' attention this week, can't pick against Riverview. They are just they're relentless, really.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with Riverview as well. We have our game of the week, but since we lost Gary, I need you to make 3 picks.
Go.
Ida at Blissfield. Who do you got?
Blissfield. Great team.
Dundee at Hillsdale.
Hillsdale. Good team.
And then 3-1 Monroe at 3-1 Bedford.
2 good teams. I'm going with the Trojans. I think the Trojans are pretty darn good this year. Look out for a breakout game from from Tristan Panza. They've been trying to stop him. The other team's defense have been trying to stop him. He's going to break out sooner or later, Panza.
Okay, you went with the same picks we did. Okay, and then our Cakes by Stephanie game of the week is the 4-0 state-ranked Erie Mason Eagles traveling to the number 1 team in Division 8, the Aggies of Sand Creek, who sit at 4-0. Frank, go ahead first.
If to say that this is the game of the year in the Tri-County Conference is a massive understatement, this could very well be the game of the century. 2 teams in the top 10 of their respective divisions, the top 2 offenses, and the top 2 defenses. Get your popcorn ready for this one. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-out affair. And I am going to go with the Eagles in this one. I just think they've got that much more talent.
Gary, your thoughts?
Doug Donnelly did a nice little piece compare and contrast to the 2 teams up to this point as far as yardage per game and points per game and so on and so forth. They're basically identical and out of this world numbers. One number that I do like that is pretty amazing is Noah Boudry is averaging 24 yards a completion. That's pretty crazy. And he'll be the reason they win. He's when you can chuck the ball 24 yards for every pass, that's hard to overcome, even for a really good team like Sand Creek. If Erie Mason doesn't turn the ball over, they win.
Gosh, you guys are killing me. I figured you guys would take the Aggies.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game, and I think the last 3 years of getting beat up in the LCAA by those run-heavy teams have prepared Erie Mason for a game like this. I don't think Sand Creek will be able to stop them from scoring, and I think Erie Mason will play just enough defense to pull this game out. So I'm going to go with the Eagles of Erie Mason as well. So that is all the picks. I don't think I missed anybody. That looks like everybody we got there. Gary, final thoughts before we get out of here?
It's Bear Week for my boys, so I'm always excited on Bear Week.
Frank?
Well, if I don't end up having a game to officiate this Friday, more than likely I will make a little road trip out to Sand Creek and watch the game of the century in the Tri-County Conference, and could possibly have some updates via Twitter.
That'd be great. All right. Well, we'd like to thank everybody for watching. We will be carrying the scores on the website again. If you're at a game, don't be afraid to tweet those scores at us and or send them over to the website, and we will get them updated. I know we had every score updated with a final by like 9:15 last week, so it was pretty quick and things went pretty well. So with that said, guys, thanks for joining me again, and everyone, thanks for watching FridayNightVictors.com.